You're not tired because life is hard. You're tired because you care too much. About people who don't lose sleep over you. About opinions that won't matter. And about expectations that are slowly stealing your peace. Welcome to Quiet Discipline Method. Before we go any further, if this message resonates with something deep inside you, subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep creating content that challenges, sharpens, and frees you. Now listen carefully. Most people don't realize this until it's too late. Exhaustion is not always caused by doing too much. Sometimes it's caused by caring too much. You care about how people see you. You care about what they say when you're not in the room. You care about being misunderstood. You care about not disappointing anyone. And slowly, silently, that care turns into a weight you carry every single day. You replay conversations in your mind long after they end. You analyze your tone, your words, your silence. You wonder if you were too much or not enough. You ask yourself if you could have been kinder, quieter, smarter, more agreeable, and without realizing it, you start shrinking parts of yourself just to feel accepted. You tell yourself this is love, loyalty, kindness, but deep down you know the truth. You are exhausted because you've been living outside of yourself. You've been carrying opinions that don't belong to you. You've been managing emotions that aren't your responsibility. You've been trying to earn peace by keeping everyone else comfortable. And the cost of that comfort has been your own. Here's what no one tells you. When you care too much about how others feel about you, you slowly lose touch with how you feel about yourself. You stop asking what you need. You stop listening to your own inner voice. You start measuring your worth by reactions, replies, likes, approval, silence. And the more you care, the more power you give away. Power over your mood, power over your confidence, power over your peace. You wake up already tired, not because the day has begun, but because your mind never rested. You go to sleep drained, not because of what you did, but because of everything you carried emotionally. And what hurts the most is this. The people you're carrying all this weight for often have no idea how heavy it is. They move on. They sleep peacefully. They forget. And you're left holding the tension, the doubt, the emotional debt. This is the silent danger of caring too much. It doesn't destroy you loudly. It erodes you quietly. It convinces you that your worth depends on how well you manage other people's expectations. It traps you in a cycle where peace always feels just one apology, one explanation, one adjustment away, but never arrives. At some point, you must face the mirror and admit something difficult. Your kindness has no boundaries, and that's why it's hurting you. You've been giving access to your inner world to people who haven't earned it. You've been treating every opinion like a verdict and every reaction like a reflection of your value. But not every thought deserves your attention. Not every person deserves your emotional labor. And not every relationship deserves the right to disturb your peace. This is where the shift begins. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with awareness. The moment you realize that caring without limits is not strength, it's self-abandonment. And the moment you stop abandoning yourself, everything starts to change. Before we continue, let me ask you something to reflect on. Answer honestly and leave your response in the comments. Question: when you feel emotionally exhausted most days, which one feels closer to the truth? A. Life is demanding too much from me. B. I'm giving too much of myself to the wrong things and people. Comment A or B below. There is a painful truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding, because accepting it forces you to let go of an illusion that once made you feel important. You cannot please everyone, and you cannot save everyone. No matter how good your intentions are, no matter how pure your heart is, there are limits to what a human being is meant to carry. At some point, trying to be liked by everyone turns into a quiet betrayal of yourself. You give more, you explain more, you adjust more, and still someone remains dissatisfied. Still, someone misunderstands you. Still, someone finds a reason to criticize, reject, or distance themselves. This is not because you failed. It is because the goal was never achievable to begin with. When you try to please everyone, you stop standing for anything. Your values soften, your boundaries blur, your voice lowers, and slowly, you begin shaping your life around other people's expectations instead of your own inner compass. What starts as kindness becomes self-erasure. And the cruel irony is this: the more you try to keep everyone happy, the more invisible you become. Equally dangerous is the belief that it is your responsibility to rescue others from their pain. You see their struggle. You feel their wounds. You want to help, to fix, to heal. You stay longer than you should. You give more chances than you can afford. You tell yourself that love means endurance, that loyalty means sacrifice without limit. But there is a line between supporting someone and carrying their entire life on your back. You cannot save people who refuse to change. You cannot heal wounds they are unwilling to face. You cannot make choices for them, no matter how badly you want a different outcome. And every time you step in to rescue someone from the consequences of their actions, you delay their growth while accelerating your own exhaustion. This is where many people break without realizing why. They confuse responsibility with control. They believe that if they just say the right words, stay patient enough, love hard enough, things will finally change. When they don't, the blame turns inward. You ask yourself what you did wrong. You wonder why you weren't enough. You carry guilt that was never yours to hold. But listen carefully. Growth cannot be forced. Healing cannot be imposed. Awareness cannot be gifted. People change only when they decide that the pain of staying the same is greater than the fear of becoming someone new. Until then, no amount of sacrifice from you will rewrite their story. There is a deeper truth hidden here, one that challenges the way you've been taught to love. You are not meant to be the savior in everyone else's life. You are meant to be responsible for your own integrity, your own direction, your own well-being. When you take ownership of problems that are not yours, you lose focus on the life you were meant to build. And when you are drained, truly drained, something revealing happens. The people you poured yourself into rarely notice your silence. The ones you rescued rarely come back to rescue you. The ones you protected rarely protect your peace. This realization hurts, but it is also freeing. It shows you exactly where your energy has been misinvested. Letting go of this false responsibility does not make you cold. It makes you honest. It allows you to help without destroying yourself, to love without disappearing, to support without suffocating your own growth. There is wisdom in knowing when to step back, when to allow others to face their own lessons, and when to choose your own stability over endless sacrifice. You are not here to be everything to everyone. You are here to be whole. And the moment you accept that you cannot please everyone and cannot save everyone, you reclaim something essential: your time, your energy, and your right to live a life that is not defined by other people's unmet expectations. There is a moment when caring too much stops looking like kindness and starts quietly reshaping your entire life. Not through one dramatic decision, but through 1,000 small compromises you barely notice at first. You don't abandon yourself all at once. You do it gradually, politely, and with good intentions. You begin to check yourself before you speak. You measure your words, your tone, your honesty. You sense the room before expressing what you truly think. And slowly, your choices stop coming from your inner direction and start revolving around how they might be received. What will they think? How will this look? Will this upset someone? Will this change how they see me? Without realizing it, you begin living under observation, even when no one is watching. Your mind becomes crowded with imagined judgments. You overanalyze reactions. You read into silence. You search for meaning in delays, in short replies, in subtle shifts of behavior. You start adjusting your actions not because they align with who you are, but because they feel safer, less confrontational, more acceptable. This is where focus begins to fracture. When too much attention is placed on how others perceive you, there is little left for your own direction. Your energy gets diverted into monitoring opinions instead of building progress. You become highly aware of external signals, yet increasingly disconnected from your internal voice. The compass that once guided you starts to spin, influenced by every passing comment and unspoken expectation. Caring too much does not make you more compassionate. It makes you more manageable. You start shaping your identity to fit what others are comfortable with. You downplay your intensity. You soften your convictions. You hide parts of yourself that might cause friction. Over time, this self-editing becomes a habit. You forget which parts of you are genuine and which parts were added for acceptance. And the cost of this is subtle but severe. You lose clarity. You lose confidence. You lose momentum. Not because you lack ability, but because you are constantly negotiating your existence instead of committing to it. The more you seek approval, the more your life becomes reactive. Your decisions are no longer anchored in purpose, but in anticipation. You wait for signals. You hesitate. You second guess. And while you are busy managing perceptions, time moves forward without you fully stepping into it. Here is the truth. Most people never pause long enough to realize. Most people are far too consumed by their own fears, insecurities, and struggles to truly analyze your life the way you imagine. Their judgments, when they exist at all, are often reflections of their internal battles, not accurate assessments of your worth or direction. Yet when you allow those projections to guide you, they gain power over your path. They rent space in your mind without paying anything in return. They influence choices they have no responsibility for and outcomes they will never have to live with. This is how caring too much quietly steals your fire. You stop taking risks that matter. You stop speaking with conviction. You start living cautiously rather than intentionally, and what once felt like sensitivity begins to feel like restraint. Not because the world is dangerous, but because you have given it too much authority over who you are allowed to be. The shift happens the moment you recognize that your life is not a performance. You are not here to be constantly evaluated. You are here to live with alignment. When you stop caring about applause, something powerful returns. Clarity. Your steps become firmer. Your voice steadier. Your decisions cleaner. You begin acting from truth rather than approval, from direction rather than reaction. And in that space, focus sharpens. Energy returns. You remember who you are when you are no longer trying to be everything to everyone. Caring less about opinions does not make you reckless. It makes you precise. It allows you to place your attention where it belongs, on your values, your growth, and the path that is yours alone to walk. Peace does not come from a life without problems. It comes from knowing where your responsibility ends and where it does not begin. Many people spend years chasing calm by trying to fix everything, explain everything, and tolerate everything, only to feel more overwhelmed with time. What they are missing is simple, but uncomfortable. Peace requires boundaries. Without boundaries, your life becomes an open door. Anyone can walk in with their demands, their moods, their chaos, and their needs. You answer every call, you respond to every message, you react to every comment, and slowly, your inner world turns into a crowded space where everyone has access except you. You begin to feel invaded, not because people are cruel, but because you never decided who was allowed to stay. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves emotional access to you. This is not arrogance. It is discernment. Energy is not unlimited. Every yes costs something. Every engagement pulls from the same internal reserve. When you give it away without intention, you end up depleted, confused, and resentful without fully understanding why. Some people only show up when they need something. They lean on your patience, your empathy, your availability. But when you need understanding, space, or support, they disappear. You keep giving because you believe consistency will change them. But consistency without boundaries only teaches people how much they can take. Peace begins the moment you stop trying to be endlessly available. You do not owe everyone a response. You do not owe everyone an explanation. You do not owe everyone access to your emotional state. Silence is not avoidance when it is chosen consciously. Distance is not rejection when it is necessary for stability. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They allow in what nourishes you and keep out what drains you. Many people fear boundaries because they associate them with conflict or guilt. They worry about being misunderstood, judged, or labeled as selfish. But boundaries do not create conflict. They reveal it. They show you who respects your limits and who only valued you for your availability. That information, while painful at first, is invaluable. Peace is not passive. It is protected. You protect it when you stop reacting to everything that seeks your attention. You protect it when you choose rest over constant engagement. You protect it when you recognize that not every argument deserves your voice, and not every situation deserves your energy. The strongest response is often none at all. There is a difference between being kind and being accessible to harm. Kindness without boundaries leads to burnout. Empathy without limits leads to emotional exhaustion. You can care deeply without caring what is not yours. You can love without allowing disorder into your inner life. When you begin to honor your limits, something changes. Your nervous system relaxes, your thoughts slow down, you stop living in constant alert mode. You begin to feel safe within yourself again. And from that safety, clarity emerges. You see relationships more honestly, you see patterns more clearly. You recognize which connections bring peace and which only bring noise. Peace is not something you find after everything settles down. It is something you choose, even when life remains unsettled. It is the decision to stop sacrificing your well-being for temporary harmony. It is the discipline of walking away from environments that confuse you and towards spaces that ground you. Once you lose your peace, everything else becomes harder to manage. Your focus weakens. Your patience thins. Your sense of self erodes. That is why protecting your peace is not optional. It is essential. When you learn to guard your time, your energy, and your emotional space, you are not becoming distant. You are becoming deliberate. And in that deliberateness, peace stops being something you chase and becomes something you live with every day. There comes a point in life when caring less is no longer a defense mechanism, but a sign of maturity. Not the kind of indifference that shuts the heart down, but the kind of clarity that finally knows what is worth holding and what must be released. This is where strength quietly replaces exhaustion. Caring less does not mean you stop loving. It means you stop suffering for reasons that no longer serve your growth. It means you stop pouring energy into places where it evaporates without return. You begin to understand that your capacity is not infinite and that protecting it is not selfish, but necessary. This is the moment self-respect enters the room. Self-respect changes the way you move through the world. You no longer chase attention. You no longer beg for understanding. You no longer explain your value to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop tolerating disrespect, not because you are angry, but because you are clear. Chaos no longer feels familiar or exciting. It feels heavy, intrusive, and unnecessary. When you respect yourself, you start saying no without guilt. You stop overextending just to be liked. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You recognize that peace is more valuable than approval, and alignment is more important than belonging at any cost. One of the hardest truths to accept is this: some people are not meant to walk with you forever. Their role in your life was seasonal. They were aligned with who you were, not who you are becoming. When you begin to grow, when you begin to choose yourself, when you begin to live with intention, not everyone can follow. And that is not a failure. It is a natural consequence of transformation. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to leave conversations that drain you, relationships that confuse you, and environments that quietly erode your self-worth. Walking away does not mean you hate anyone. It means you honor yourself. It means you finally accept that staying in places that cost you your peace is not loyalty, it is self-neglect. Many people stay because they are afraid of loss, afraid of being alone, afraid of starting over, afraid of what others will think. But what they rarely consider is the cost of staying, the nights spent overthinking, the constant tension, the inner conflict of knowing something is wrong but remaining anyway. That cost accumulates, slowly but relentlessly. Caring less frees you from that weight. When you stop trying to fix everyone, you create space to fix what truly matters: your direction, your discipline, your inner stability. You stop reacting to every emotional pull and start responding with intention. Your energy becomes focused instead of scattered. Your life becomes quieter but stronger. There is also a deeper layer to this shift, one rooted in faith and trust. When you release the need to control outcomes, to manage perceptions, to hold everything together, you begin to understand that not everything is yours to carry. Some doors close not as punishment, but as protection. Some rejections happen not to diminish you, but to redirect you. When you stop obsessing over who left, you become available for what is coming. Caring less allows you to stand firmly even when people walk away. You realize that your worth is not measured by who stays, but by how grounded you remain when circumstances change. You learn that silence can be more powerful than explanation, and growth can be the strongest response to misunderstanding. This is the power of self-respect. It teaches you that you do not need to be available for chaos anymore, that you do not need to entertain negativity, that you do not need to prove anything to anyone who cannot see you clearly. One day, you will look back and recognize that the peace you gained was worth every version of yourself you outgrew and every connection you released. You will see that caring less did not make you cold. It made you free. And in that freedom, you finally began living the life you were meant to live. Conclusion, about 100 words. Caring less is not about closing your heart. It is about opening your eyes. It is the quiet realization that peace cannot be negotiated with people who thrive on chaos, and self-worth cannot be built on approval that constantly shifts. When you stop overextending yourself to be understood, liked, or needed, you regain something essential: clarity. You begin to live from alignment instead of anxiety, intention instead of reaction. In that space, your energy becomes focused, your choices become cleaner, and your life finally feels like it belongs to you again. Deep lesson and how to apply it. The deeper lesson is this: you are responsible for your peace before you are responsible for anyone else's comfort. Start applying this by paying attention to what drains you. Notice which conversations leave you tense, which relationships require constant explanation, and which commitments pull you away from yourself. Begin setting small boundaries: delayed responses, honest no's, intentional silence. Choose progress over approval and self-respect over people-pleasing. Over time, these small decisions compound into a life that feels grounded, calm, and truly your own. Question for you: do you believe peace comes more from changing your environment or changing your boundaries? Please share your thoughts by commenting below. Your perspective may help someone else see their situation more clearly. And if this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to Quiet Discipline Method. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content that challenges and strengthens the inner discipline we all need.